Serious issue here in this country, and that is of soil erosion.
USDA Chief Tom Vilsack headlined the Iowa Farm Bureau's Economic Summit, which was organized to help producers manage risk. Vilsack spent much of his time addressing the audience, but also found time to send a message to those back in Washington.
The yeas are 216, the nays are 208, the bill is passed.
Vilsack chided the House version of the Farm Bill as it contained no language for food assistance programs. And the Secretary said another renewal of the current bill, an option if a new bill isn't passed by October, is a step backwards.
Honestly, an extension removes any impetus for getting a farm bill done. And the challenge and the risk of not getting it done this year is that you're not likely to get it done in an election year, as we saw in 2012. And then if you don't get it done in an election year, then you have a new Congress that begins in 2015, and that you start the process over again. And the chances of getting it done in the latter part of the second term of a president equally problematic. So if we don't get it done now, the chances are that we won't get it done.
With so much uncertainty surrounding policy, producers also heard about another factor beyond their control: the weather.
Climatologists don't have to make forecasts about the future, they make forecasts about the past.
Elwyn Taylor is Iowa State University's extension climatologist. His review of this year's weather data included a cool, wet spring, record snowfall in May, followed by triple-digit temperatures less than 2 weeks later. Despite the extremes, Taylor found a parallel.
From October 1st, right up until this week, it could have been a carbon copy. The weather of 1947, the fourth worst year for crop production in the history of the state of Iowa.
Not exactly welcome words to producers coming off the worst drought in half a century just last year. 1983 was another year like 1947, when delayed planting quickly gave way to a hot and dry summer.
A disaster to the crop because the crops were not properly rooted. And so they suffered more from the hot, dry than they would have if they'd have had a normal root system.
The shortened spring season forced some producers to rush fieldwork before the soil was fully ready for heavy equipment. But some farmers had few options, as the ideal planting window passed by on the calendar with little progress. According to Taylor, the more compacted soil proved to be a major hurdle for the corn's root system, and that could be a problem from pollination through the harvest.
As soon as corn has pollinated, it only has one interest, if plants can have an interest, and that's to produce a viable seed. Because as soon as that grain is about to start developing, the plant doesn't grow roots anymore. If it hasn't got the roots down where they belong, they're not going to get there. The emphasis on roots has gone away.
Thus, according to Taylor, the crops will need at minimum average moisture to have an improved chance at producing trendline yields. However, drought conditions are beginning to return to the Corn Belt, as indicated in this week's drought monitor from the University of Nebraska. 58.3% of the contiguous U.S. is in some form of drought. That's a 4-point increase over last week and a 10-point spike since June 11th, when the lowest level in 18 months was recorded.
The drought likely to persist in the west and have below trend yields, in other words. Temperature highs or lows will be significant. If we go into warm nights starting now, we could go right back to the same kind of disaster path we were on 1947 and 1983. If we stay cool, cooler than usual, we will be above the trend for the U.S. Corn Belt, which is 160 bushels. Right now, the 150 to 155 isn't a bad guess. Climate will likely be increasingly erratic during our coming 25 years.
But does Taylor call this climate change?
And furthermore, Congress has made this, it's Camelot of the world. Not only did they define drought for us, but by law, it can't go on for more than 9 years. After 9 years, it isn't a drought anymore. After 9 years, it's a new climate.
For Market to Market, I'm Paul Yeager.